Hey everyone, this is Hart or Base Hunter Chad. Uh, here to record a video about the famed, the greatness, Hunter x Hunter, specifically the current Succession War arc in the manga. Meaning that if you've never read the manga or anything about the current arc, then I recommend you don't watch the video and just go read the manga and catch up. Then you can watch this video. But if you've strictly only watched the anime, then again read the manga. But if you haven't even watched Hunter x Hunter, just stay away from this video. And if you don't even intend to read the manga and you're a Hunter x Hunter fan who's only watched the 2011 version, then I recommend staying away from this video as well. In the current arc, there are a lot of interesting things going on. For example, there is the mental there is the mental chess between Kurapika and Furiko and Bobby Mina that's going on in room 1014. Then there's the ordeal with Saranich and his ability, along with Salikov, I believe, and Theta. And then there's the stuff with the Phantom Troop, the three mafia families, and the war, and then the search for Hisoka, along with the fact that um, there are all these other interesting things going on, especially with Halkenburg and like Benjamin. Then there's the whole entire thing with Camila. So in short, there's a lot of things that are being set up currently. And right now in the story, it's currently Togashi's currently shifting the focus to the mafia families and the battle and the search for Hisoka, which would expedite the story further and hasten the pace. That's if we ever get to them, of course. But I'm not here to talk about that. But as you can tell from the title of the video, I'm here to talk about the Hulkenberg's current dilemma with Benjamin. This was something that always interested me, strictly because of just how many just how many like just how many facets and complex dynamics there are here at play. And I want to talk about it and discuss Togashi's writing and his writing style and how he would do this, along with giving my ideas of how Hulkenberg could survive and how the attack or the assassination could take place. This was first began in chapter 389 called Curse. And that chapter, Balsamilko and Benjamin are both wrapping their heads around the nature of Hulkenberg's ability and what it could do, to which they realized that the best way to stop the ability and put down Hulkenberg for good is to render him in a position where he's unable to use said ability, to where they come to where Benjamin comes to the conclusion, along with Balsamilko, that it's an ability fueled by an aura of a group, you know. And then they plan to assassinate him in the opening trial of the court. Now, all right then. First, if we want to talk about this situation, we would first need to know about how this attack would go. Would this attack would even happen? And first, we need to look at the soldiers. For Benjamin, there's Balsamilko Mike the captain, Furikov, Muse, Koventoba, Butch, Orao, Kanjido, Rihan, Shikaku, and two nameless guards. Then Yushohi, Vict, Vincent, and Bobby Mina. First off, we need to look at the current soldiers, their abilities, along with Benjamin's ability to be able to come formulate an idea as to how this sort of attack would even take place. For example, if it were okay, If it were Benjamin and Balsamilko, would they simply square up against Halkenburg? Like, would they literally, like, just pull up on them? Or would it be done in a matter of an assassination to where it would be, like, a sneak attack? Or, like, they would come in a very conspicuous manner and try and, like, swiftly finish off Halkenburg right then and there in the opening trial, you know? And to figure that out, we would have to know the ability. First off, are like the available pieces or the pawns that are at play. For example, Balsamilko Might, the captain, we don't know his ability, but he's currently with Benjamin. So he could factor in place. So we might see his ability along with Benjamin. But there's also the law that a prince is not allowed to kill another prince, which means that would be a capital punishment. Which means Benjamin might not even actually physically take a hand in this. Which means that this could be done by one of the soldiers. We can already cross Muse and Shikaku off because they're both killed. Muse was guarding Prince Camilla, and he was killed off instantly. Shikaku was guarding the ninth Prince Halkenberg, and he was killed off eventually via suicide. We can also cross off Fury Cove, and that he won't be aiding a hand in this assassination because and this is further proven by the fact that when he asked Basamilko Might if he should watch over Camila in chapter 373, he basically stated that he wouldn't need to and that he should just continue watching Karapika and trying to gather as much information as possible along with Bobby Mina, which makes him an inactive piece throughout this equation, which means that we can cross him off. So he won't be a hand in this assassination. Furthermore, Kovan Toba is currently watching the third prince, but we don't know his ability yet, which means we can cross him off. Orao is currently guarding sixth prince Tyson, which we can cross him off because they don't have any information on Tyson. Kanjiro is currently guarding the seventh prince Lazarus, but he's also gathering information about the death of Shikaku. Rihan is currently guarding fifth prince Tubeppa, so which means so we can fairly assume we can easily estimate and assume that he's also going to be crossed off and not going to be involved in the assassination. Now we don't even know the name of the the guard that's guarding 10th Prince Kacho. But in chapter 390, the final chapter, in the very beginning of that chapter, Third Prince Zhang Li was talking to Anyor, I believe, one of the mafia leaders, and he stated this one line that three of his princes were already dead. Before, it was already two princes that were dead, Saleh Saleh and Prince Momose, who was the first. Now, either this is an entirely different video, the different video idea I have. Now, either it was a completely different prince that was killed off, or somehow they got wind that it was Kacho that was killed off, which would make her the third prince that was killed off. But if so, what does that make of uh, of the manufactured Kacho that was created by her Nen Beast? So we don't have that much information currently. But if it is Kacho that was killed off, then that means that the guard that was formerly guarding Prince Kacho could assist simply because there wouldn't be a prince that he would be guarding at the moment, which means he can assist Basamilko Might and Benjamin in the suicide in the assassination attempt. But we currently do not know his ability. But he could be an active player. Then there is another person that is also nameless, who's currently guarding Mariam. But obviously, you know, he can't really do anything because one, they don't have any information on Mariam or his Nen Beast, and two, If he did walk out of the dimensional space, then he wouldn't be able to get back in, which means Mariam would be completely untouchable. So he's basically forced in a position to where he's unable to move. Now Vincent was already killed off. So, yeah. Vincent was already killed off back in volume 35. I forget the chapter, but it was in the early 360s. And Bobby Mina is currently guarding Prince Wobble and trying to figure out Kurapika's ability. But we can easily cross Bobby Mina off simply because his ability was stated to be um, a counterattack sort of ability, which wouldn't be good for assassinations. Meanwhile, Vict, who that could play a big part in this whole ordeal, is currently unavailable, but he was attacked in Chapter 389 off screen by Halkenburg, which means that he's one of Halkenburg's forces, which basically means that Fury Cove, Musei, Koventoba, Orao, Kanjidol, Rihan, Shikaku, Vict, the guard that's guarding 13 Prince, Vincent and Bobby Mina are all inactive, which means only Balsamilk All Might, Butch, the soldier that's guarding that was formerly guarding 10th Prince Kacho, and Yushohi are the only ones that could really be effective here. I say Yushohi simply because he was formerly guarding the eighth Prince Saleh Saleh, which mean and simply because of the fact that we've been getting a little bit more of him throughout the 10 chapters that we've gained, which means Togashi was clearly setting him up by the fact that we now know a little bit about his ability how to get away with murder, which could set him up for this assassination attempt. Simply, and it would also substantiate this simply because his ability would be perfect for that as well. So he could, so he could be the one to like try and finish off Halkenburg himself, since Halkenburg would not be able to defend himself without the use of his ability. We don't know the ability of the guard that's guarding the 10th Prince, or that formerly guarded the 10th Prince, and we don't know anything about Butch. But he's an inactive player, but he can be used. So essentially, Yushohi and Butch are the two most likely candidates that could be here, along with Basamoko Might and Benjamin. Now, if this was an attempt for an assassination, rather than them simply pulling up and starting a fight right then and there, then they would most likely take Yushohi. Yeah. But would Benjamin be there? That's the question. If we want to if we want to say that if Benjamin is going to be there, then one, we'd have to know what sort of abilities he would have. First off, we currently know that he has Musei's ability, Shikaku, and Vincent's. But and this was stated with Musei and Shikaku's ability. We already know what Shikaku and both Musei's abilities are, but we don't have any information on Vincent's. Furthermore, it's not even stated if he can actually use Vincent's ability simply because Kurapika had already taken the ability with the thieving index in the beginning. So there's no we don't have any information on whether or not that ability would be usable until Kurapika uses it, then the ability would finally transfer over to Benjamin's. Or Benjamin and Kurapika both have the use of the ability. But whether or not Benjamin would even want to use Vincent's ability is a different question, simply because they know it won't be effective. He can't use Muse's ability either, simply because of the fact that that ability is currently being used to spy on Camila. But the interesting thing about Muse's ability Secret Window is the fact that there are three different kinds of birds. We only know about one, which is fulfilled by by the condition of touching the person. We don't know what the other two types of birds are, but they're probably done through other means. But then here's the question: is he able to use multiple different kinds of birds at once or not? That's the ultimate question. Because if he's able to do that, then he'd be able to spy on Halkenburg. But then it would mean, like, what sort of conditions would that even play? Furthermore, is he able to even use multiple abilities at once? Because an ability as strong as Benjamin's has to have a few weaknesses. Furthermore, we don't know how many abilities he can use at the same time. And we don't know the limit of abilities he can take from his soldiers, considering, there's a star on each finger. He has more soldiers than the amount of fingers he has, than the amount of stars he could have on his fingers. So in short, we still need more information. Which means that it's most likely going to be relying on Yushohi or Butch. Now the question falls on Halkenburg, and I actually have 4 or 5 different ideas and theories on how Halkenburg could be saved, or what could happen here. One, first off, I don't see Halkenburg being killed off this early. He's way too important of a character. So is Benjamin. He's way too important so far. So they obviously have more to play. So this would play in a situation to where someone could be killed off, and it could be a soldier. But 100%, Benjamin and Halkenberg are both going to still be alive because they're going to be big players for the latter stage of the arc, which means either his soldiers would be able to save Halkenberg. That's the first. That's the first. That's the first thing. Either his soldiers come in and save Halkenberg, which could involve Vict, considering we don't know his status, and they could use Vict as a sacrificial pawn in order to stop Benjamin and the others, which could save Halkenberg. But because Halkenberg is currently separated from his people, which means he won't be able to meet them or use his ability. And if he can't use his ability, then he can't really defend himself. But then that falls in line. What if his Nen Beast could develop either another ability or becomes physically capable of defending Hulkenberg and fighting off his assailants? That could happen. That's the second option. But it's also the most predictable and lame option, which is what I believe Togashi would not want to go for. Because with Togashi, our Lord and Savior, when he when it comes to writing, he usually chooses the most the what he believes to be the most interesting thing for him, while also being logical and being able to move the story forward and make it a lot more interesting and thought provoking. And what I believe would be the most interesting is that Saranish indirectly saves Halkenberg. Now, currently, Serenich is currently training Nen, but what if he unleashes his N? And it would be on some Pito level, like N right there, where it encompasses the entirety of the first floor of the ship, and then and then it causes Benjamin and everyone else to be privy of this aura that Serenich had been like learning then under their nose, and they haven't been able to, and they weren't able to figure it out until then. And then because of the severity and power and like disparity of his aura compared to everything else they felt prior, even compared to Halkenburg, they'll probably like Benjamin in his hatred of his younger brother that he sees as his rival would want to like immediately switch gears and want to like fire the arrows at Serenich instead, seeing him as the biggest threat. That would be the most interesting, and that would be able to save Halkenburg, and it would be pretty. That would also be pretty damn cool, and it would also shift the story and to the fact that now people are aware outside of Benjamin of Serenich's camp that people are aware that this man is learning Nen, and it would raise the danger level even higher for me. As for the third or fourth option, well, one, either someone comes to save Halkenberg, either his men or his soldiers are Vict. Two, Halkenberg's Nenbeast develops another ability, or it actually fights, or something happens that stops Benjamin or his or the assassination attempt, some third party, or it's the Serenus thing. And I honestly believe it to be the Serenus thing because one, that would just be the most interesting thing for me. And also, going back to Musei's ability secret window, we don't know whether or not Benjamin can be able to use multiple birds, since there are apparently three types, and one is through touch that Musei had set up prior to his death. So would this ability be more like Palms, Wink Blue, to where if he uses the ability on Halkenberg, would he be able to see both Camilla and Halkenberg at the same time? That would also be pretty interesting, considering Togashi has a habit of reusing character abilities. For example, he uses some character abilities from Yu Yu Hakusho and retransfers it to Hunter x Hunter. Like you show his ability, literally being Doctor Kamiya's ability from Chapter Black, to where it's like this bug that ingests lethal poison, kills off kills off people slowly. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to really talk about. It's just really interesting. But yeah, currently there are three guards that could be at play here. The nameless guard that was guarding Kacho, the one that was formerly guarding Tubeppa, Butch, and Yushohi. We don't know the abilities of two of these individuals, but we know Yushohi's ability. So which is perfect for assassination attempts. But then there could also be Vic, who could be a wrench in this entire plan. Now, would the question falls in line with what sort of attack would this be? Would this be an assassination attempt or an attack? Would Benjamin even be there? If so, what sort of abilities would he use? And what are the conditions of his abilities and what are the limitation of his natural ability, Benjamin Button? What sort of people would even be there to try and assassinate Halkenberg? And what options does Halkenberg have? One that he's aware of or ones that he's not privy to? Maybe he's even aware that he's being framed and set up for an assassination attempt, and maybe he has a plan in play, like Griffith from Berserk, all according to Keikaku. All I know is the fact that Prince Benjamin's camp is not in a good position. There are too many inactive pawn pieces, and he's in a very. They used to be able to accurately read the state of battle, but they're making too many mistakes simply because they underestimated the enemy, or that the enemy has been able to perform outside their expectations. So, which is as a result of unknown factors. But yeah, if you, I'm mostly rambling because of this video, but it's pretty fun. Uh, Feel free to comment down below in the description. Tell me your thoughts. Uh, yeah.